Cinnabar, Chapter 10. Whoo-oo? Cinnabar streaked along the road, letting the breeze of his own making dry his coat. All the mint scent was gone now, and his own foxy fragrance drifted enticingly along behind him. It spurred the hounds to renewed action, but even so, they couldn't catch him, for the cooling stream had given him new energy. That last little squeaking rat, however, had reminded him of two things. He was hungry. He was famished. And second, had he not made a promise to Vicky? His own words came rushing back at him. You get the currant jelly, I'll fetch the hen. Somehow I'll do it, he promised himself. He planned his route as he sped along well ahead of the hunt. I'll run on down the road a piece, make a big swing through the woods, and by that time I'll be far from those blood-hungry hounds. Then on to Mr. Plunkett's hen yard, where I'll pick off the best. His mind was so purposeful now that the sights of the road went unnoticed. He ran past cabins with smoke curling from their chimneys, past a schoolhouse where a forlorn boy was sweeping the steps. He overtook a pair of drowsy mules drawing a great load of tobacco. Farther on, as the road cut through the big woods, a dust cloud came hulking toward him. When the shape of it fell, it turned out to be a coach and four rattling along at a merry clip. The driver up in his box leaned out as they met. Yoicks! He cried to the oncoming hunt. There goes your fox! Tally-ho! A spidery man ran out of a barn, tried to lay hold of Cinnabar's tail, but he slithered out of reach, swerved off the road, and whisked into the dark woods. The hounds were going so fast they overran the scent and dashed on. Cinnabar sighed in pure delight at how neatly his plans were working. In the ghostly stillness of the forest, his padded feet made no noise at all. A gray squirrel chippered at him from the stump of a tree and dropped a beech nut at his feet. Hi, Nutcracker, Cinnabar called out. How's the berrying business? He expected no answer and got none. His mind settled down to his own business at once. I've baffled the hounds, he grinned in satisfaction. Now I'll circle through the woods and so to Mr. Plunkett's. He was making fine progress when the richest, strongest scent came wafting his way. He took a deep breath and froze in his tracks with wonder and joy. What was this rank, sweet, reesty smell that set his saliva juices working? It made his whole body quiver in excitement. Why, 'tis fish, he drooled. Nice and old and oily. Who has left fish in the forest? Who? Deep in a pine tree, a ruffled screech owl echoed his thoughts. Whoo, whoo, whoo. Cinnabar paid no heed to the owl. The fulsome fragrance of fish was a magnet pulling him on until suddenly he burst upon the source of the smell. It was a trap, and upon his pan lay a rich chunk of catfish with all of the oily skin left on. As if this were not tempting enough, a sliver of chicken breast was impaled alongside the fish. By the great horn spoon, cried Cinnabar, and me whose belly is pinched with hunger. His eyes glanced all around to make sure that no thief was after his prize. He ventured a step closer, and another. Traps held no terror for him. Often and often he had devoured the bait without so much as a hair being caught. I can do it again, he exclaimed. His heart thumping fast, he reached for the inviting morsels, and as his mouth opened to snatch the bait, his left forefoot barely grazed the trigger. Crack! All in a shocked instant, the iron jaws snapped shut. One of Cinnabar's toes was caught fast. In a panic, he tried to jerk free, but the jaws were merciless. A little cry escaped him. His whole body crumpled. He tried to straighten, tried to shake his foot, but the weight of the trap was almost beyond bearing. He began panting and shivering violently, and his body felt hot and cold at the same time. He looked about helpless against the awful stillness of the forest, and he began a pleading chant, Oh, let me see them again, and his breath whispered the names over and over, Rascal, Pascal, Mary and Mischief, and oh, Vicky, Vicky, Vicky. A doe wandered near, studied him with her sad, wet eyes, then quietly she turned tail and left him to his loneliness. The same brown owl came soundlessly sifting through the gloom. It swept into a bush over Cinnabar's head, staring blindly with its glassy eyes. Whoo! You? It screeched. Whoo! you? Cinnabar hated the owl with a mounting fury. He mustered a pitiful bark, then set to work frantically to tear himself free. He put one forepaw on the trap to steady it and pulled with all his might. A knife edge of pain shot up his leg. For a moment he was too sick to try again. Up in the sky, a crow spied the trapped fox and circled about him. "Caw! Caw!" it screamed raucously, as if enjoying Cinnabar's fate. Then it wheeled away, and soon more crows came, a whole flock of croaking, flapping crows, beating their ebony wings in his face. "Caw! Caw! Caw!" they cackled harshly. All this while the hunt was checked at the edge of the woods. Hounds were catching their breath, horses steaming and blowing, hunters conferring. Which way has the 1 o'clock fox gone? To earth? So soon? Surely not. Always before he has given us a run until dark. The talk came to a sudden halt as the men heard the racket of the crows. "Hark!" Billy Lee cried. "Hark to the tattletale birds. They've sighted our fox." "Tee-hoo-wee!" he called to the hounds. "Llewyn! Llewyn!" In his misery, Cinnabar sensed what was happening, sensed that he was caught in a double trap. The crows were trapping him too. His whole body seemed to squeeze together as if it were trying to become invisible. Even his heart felt pinched and little and hurt. From the tops of the pine trees, more shiny black crows came swooping down, ready to stab him with their bills. The air went wild with their cawing, and now wilder still with the hounds baying. There was no time to think, only time to act. With a fierce grip, Cinnabar's teeth clamped down on the trap, and he tore himself free. In a flash he was gone. He felt no pain in his foot now, only a dead numbness. But behind in the trap he had left a toe, and behind him as he ran, a spotting of blood showed darkly on the forest duff.